Hi, Veston here, and today here's another individual review for a Dexter's Laboratory episode that I hate the most, Dexter Detention. Now, I won't be mad about the entire thing because I will be talking about how to fix it in the end. But I'm going to tell you right now, this will be the last time I rant about anything I hate here. At least for now, anyway. Basically, the story is that Dexter gets detention for shouting an answer to a nearby student during a test. He gets harassed mentally by this mean old warden. He and the other detention guys try to escape, but they end up in jail and the series is over. Oh wait, no it isn't, because that would have been a horrible note to go out on. Basically, the biggest problem I have with this episode is that nothing happens. Dexter accidentally shouts out an answer to a nearby student that gets thrown in detention. That's all you get. Everything is caused by idiocy, and there's no proper ending either. To see an episode where a main character winds up in detention, thinks digging out will solve anything, only to finish it off with a non-ending is just a very sad viewing experience. Even within the show's logic, there's just no reason whatsoever for Dexter to stay in the state prison instead of just digging more to find his way home. Dexter, just go post bail or something. Although I will admit, at least Dexter had a plan to try to escape from detention. I didn't know it was going to happen, but it was just a terrible ending. For whatever reason, Dexter's Laboratory likes having the actor Michael Pataki, who was on the Ren and Stimpy show, on its show, and he voiced the substitute teacher in an earlier episode. And now here, he voices that hateful warden. And his voice is so annoying. He keeps calling Dexter and his other kids as low-down criminals. Seriously, why are you being so hard on these kids? This episode doesn't care about following logic. It just has a stupid premise of Dexter winding up in detention and getting thrown in jail when he digs out of the detention room. Could the writers have thought of something less stupid for the ending without Dexter winding up in jail? I mean, this is just stupid. And while in detention, Dexter complains about being in solitary confinement in detention. Dexter, the fact that you're in detention is a bigger issue. And seriously, wouldn't you rather be away from the warden than in front of him? Look at your situation. You're way better off. Basically, I just want to ask, why did the writers decide to do this in the first place? What is Dexter getting detention and ending up in the state prison going to accomplish? What, do the writers want to acknowledge the fact that Dexter can't have a happy ending? If that's the case, then they did a terrible job at this. And by George, this episode lacking in Dee Dee that a story like this needs. Because without Dee Dee to back it up, it just comes off as ugly and not fun, thanks to the story and the warden. I mean, Dexter couldn't bother to call Dee Dee for help, or he couldn't have just transported himself back to the lab and get himself out of the situation. Heck, by that logic, he is leaving his family worried sick about him. I mean, this is just stupid. This is just Dexter getting detention, and he doesn't do anything to get himself out of the situation. Now let's discuss how the story happened in the first place. It was because Dexter was bothered by a nearby student who wants to cheat. That's not a detention matter. That is more of a timeout thing. All Dexter could have done is just told his teacher that he's being annoyed. But nope, that can't happen. Thus making Dexter to getting detention entirely the student's fault, and detention time completely pointless. And speaking in the beginning, there's also a teacher named Ms. Wimple. She's the one who gave Dexter detention. This woman is never seen again the rest of this episode. In a good story, Miss Whipple might have been the key to letting Dexter out since she was the one who gave him detention in the first place, but nope! She's just a lazy plot device that makes me wonder if she was supposed to be a recurring character on the show or something. What kind of writing is that? They introduce this lady and then just drop her from the episode as soon as Dexter winds up in detention? That's just lazy writing. Now let me talk about detention in reality despite not being in detention in my life. Detention typically is spent 1 hour after school, either working on homework or reading. It's clear the warden has abused his authority, since it's obvious that more than an hour has passed in this episode. In the real world, it's against state law for schools to keep students in after-school detention for more than 2 hours. The detention warden would have been fired from his job or got sent to prison had the school, police, government, or the parents of the students in detention gotten involved. This leads me to believe that the warden was originally a prison warden or something. I mean, it's not even like the warden even called Dexter's parents and said, "Listen, I know that Dexter has a home, but it's alright if he stays with me because I'm now his caretaker." And speaking of which, the penitentiary wouldn't prison kids, even if they accidentally tunneled in. They would have kept them safely in the visitor section and contact their parents. Why does episode decide to ignore things that could have been a way better story in favor of the herder, Dexter gets attention and tries to escape and winds up in a state prison story with a non-ending? Okay, I just had to get that off my chest. Okay, ranting aside, you could do this sort of plot while throwing in some jokes. And you know what? This has been done better not once, but twice. Yes, Misplaced in Space is a much better version of this episode, but you know what else? So is the Donut Man home video after school. That video focuses a bit on detention, but it was 30 minutes and they had time to be funny, educational, serious, and elaborate on the story. I feel like maybe if Dexter Detention was a half-hour episode, they could actually tell a story with this. They could have the first half have Dexter in detention and end up in the state prison, and then the second half could be, where do we go from here now that Dexter's in jail? but they couldn't make it a 22-minute episode for some reason. Heck, if you want a much better story about Detention, check out the short-lived Warner Bros. Animated series that is named Detention. That show may be about detention, but it was also about the main characters' lives and them trying to be better students to stay away from detention. Also, Eugenia, who was voiced by the late Kathleen Freeman, never intended for them to stay as her prisoners for more than 1 hour. She just wants them to be better people. And she may be serious about her job, but at least she has a heart. Heck, even the students try their best to stay out of trouble. But even if they don't succeed, they'll always try again. Also, interesting fact, Eugenia actually used to work as a military sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. I guess that explains why she says, "Detention!" in the way of attend hut. Bottom line, Dexter Detention is just stupid, mean-spirited, frustrating, boring, and all the above. I'd rather watch Misplaced in Space, After School, or the TV series Detention. But about Detention, if you haven't seen that show yet, go check it out. It may be only 13 episodes, but it is worth a watch. Join me again next time when I do my next cartoon theory. Also, I got something else coming up. A top 5 favorite Pokemon episodes list for the Kanto region. And with that, thank you and goodbye.